Welcome back everyone, once again F1 2019. We are finally hitting the downhill portion of the season, last race before the summer break, and only a few more races to go to close out season 2. We are headed off to Hungaroring in Hungary. So we are still sitting after the last race. Tough race at Germany, had a less than ideal strategy going for us, but we really just kind of held station for most of the race. Kind of had to battle and managed to at least hold our positions off while getting shaken up by the midfield teams. You can see in qualifying today, we're going to have a little bit of rain apparently at some point during it, so that's definitely going to put us in a different spot, I'd say, than we would normally expect. Both of our developments, though, luckily came through. Obviously, the engine one was definitely going to come through, it being a repurchase of a formerly failed one, but Mercedes has taken a big jump up, so they've gotten back ahead of us in the development chart, showing much better development pace now, so they must have had a couple majors drop in there. We're running somewhat worn components, nothing too bad there, but we'll see how much of a factor the rain plays when we head off to qualifying.
We hope you're looking forward to today's qualifying in Hungary as much as we are. We think it's going to be a cracker. So, could be a tasty one today then, Ants. We've got all the ingredients, that's for sure. Treacherous conditions, an ever-changing racetrack, and one or two cars just behind the pace setters who maybe, just maybe, fancy a bit of an upset after a good performance from them in free practice.
And the question has to be, of course, what is that circuit going to look like in 10 to 15 minutes from now? If you think the rain's going to get worse, then you have to be straight out when the lights go green to find whatever grip you can. But if it eases off, then you're better off waiting, saving the tyres, and going out at the perfect moment. The other thing that comes with these conditions? Traffic, and the lack of visibility that comes from sitting in the spray. It's going to be a constant problem, and I expect to see a lot of frustrated drivers with ruined laps out there today.
And here we are out on the track, our third lap of the qualifying session. As you can see, a lot of other cars have set wet times out. We are one of the first out on the intermediate tire as the conditions go from heavy rain to light rain. So the track is drying up, getting quicker, so it's going to really come down to who realistically is one of the last cars out. Will probably set the best time of the session. So we'll see how that goes development-wise, but we pop in a lap. We're going to go and hop ahead as the session is ending there. We're sitting P11 at the moment. But of course, the cars that are about to cross the line are almost certainly going to improve if they stay out. Just because you can see there's a lot more dry track out there. But we've also picked up about a second on our previous best lap. So it's just a matter of getting the cars safely to the line. You see the amount of steering adjustment I have to make, trying to get those front tires to hook up coming through the corner. But we're going to cross the line and see how we do through the wet Q1 and see, yes we do, make our way through into Q2. P7 pretty much a smack dab in the middle of the cars that are making it through to the next session there. And a few cars towards the bottom of the list that did make it through though. So Hamilton, Bottas, and Leclerc, even though they set times on the full wet tires, they still had enough leeway to make it through. Didn't shake it up too bad. But here we are out in qualifying 2, and you can see the rain has gone away. The sun is out now, and everybody's out on dry tires. Now, thanks to the wet qualifying, basically everybody's going to have a choice of tire to start this race. The Q2 rule is no longer really in effect, so we're just kind of popping out to try and set as good a lap as we can. But we messed up on our out lap of the final run, and we actually did not get to set a new lap, so we're sitting P14. So at this stage, we're sitting pretty far down in the grid. We do have a free tire choice. We're going to go ahead and slap on a new set of engine components here. So we'll go ahead and take the penalty now, start from the back of the grid, and have a set of fresh engine components to go the rest of the season with, since our second set is wearing out. And again, I'm holding myself to the only 3 units in rotation, so the basically the 3 freshest ones will stay in rotation. And I'm hoping that this will be the last of the last penalties of the season.
We've seen some astonishing Grand Prix here over the years, haven't we? The drama of 2015 is a recent example. Jenson Button's first win on a wet track in 2006, or in 1997, Damon Hill's heartbreak in the Arrows after a late gearbox failure cost him what would have been the team's only ever victory. What a wonderful place this is to come racing today. 14 corners then for our drivers to navigate at the 2.7-mile Hungaroring today. It's 6 lefts and 8 rights around a lap here, with average speeds in the region of 120 miles per hour. Anthony Davidson, a very warm welcome to you as you join me in the commentary box for today's event. Now, can I get your take on Max Verstappen? That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Verstappen, Pierre Gasly and Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Norris, Weber and Sergio Perez, Butler, Magnussen, Antonio Giovinazzi and Stroll, Sainz, Russell, Alexander Albon and Roman Grosjean, Vettel and Oldtimer. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
After the points finish last race, let's aim to keep the momentum going.
Well, it looks like Sebastian Vettel and his Ferrari did not make it out of Q1. Apparently was one of the cars that did not get a good run on the intermediates and had to stick with just the full wet. So that's going to shake up the grid a little bit. George Russell as well, not as far up the grid as I thought he would be running in a car so well suited in the development charts. But we're just going to go ahead and tweak the strategy, kind of go back to this tried and true that we've run a couple of races and we're starting to get better and better results out of the long run onto the mediums. That way we have the fastest tire possible at the tail end of the race on the softs. When we have that free choice, especially on a set of mediums that we didn't have to qualify on, really helps us out in that regard. So that's kind of what we're going for. Just kind of run these mediums until they're dead and then get on a soft and see how fast we can go. I think pretty much everybody else is going to be running a one-stopper, either soft onto hard or medium onto hard, depending on the cars, and that's also going to depend on how they did on their qualifying. But you see, we dive it up the inside into turn one, go ahead and just snag a few positions right off the bat. We really want to get ourselves clear as many as we can, as we have to go out on the grass to avoid as that line stops up behind us. A little bit of a lockup on that front left, but we managed to keep our front wing clear. We get a little bit of a bump from Lando Norris, I believe it was there. Kind of yanked my car to the left there, so that's why I wasn't trying to run him off the road, but the contact from him squeezing me against the apex just kind of grabbed my left side tires and pulled me towards him. But there we are early, another little dive into the chicane area against Lance Stroll there, and we're being very aggressive in these early stages. I mean, we've got a car that very much outperforms a lot of these cars at the back of the grid, so we got to try and clear as many of them as we can early in the race so we can get some clean air to running, which is going to be tough. Hungary, there's not a lot of overtaking opportunities, and when you have these long trains, once DRS is enabled down the front straight, you know, unless you get that front car without DRS, there's really no way if you're running in a train of like 2 or 3 cars to make it past those. So making up 5 positions on the first lap is not a bad run for us so far, but at this stage we're gonna have to kind of settle in, hopefully get some good runs in some of the non-DRS areas and try and make some dives. But it's not an easy course to make moves on. But you can see we jump all the way lap 12 and Giovinazzi is still right in front of us. We basically sat in this train, but we are up to P5 now as all these soft tire runners ahead of us, all 10 of them have dove into the pits and grabbed some new tires. And here's one of those areas where I say we just got to kind of overspeed and go for it. A little bit of a lockup into the braking zone, but we're able to hang it out around the outside. Now, one thing I did compromise on in the setup for this race is instead of running kind of like a balanced mid-level wing, I'm actually running a fairly high wing angle around this track. It's a very, downforce heavy track. So what I give up in some of the straight line areas, I definitely gain in in the curvy bits of the track. But what that allows me to do is I have a couple of corners that I'm able to attack on without DRS, because I can get such a good run off of some of these corners onto shorter straights that are not DRS straights to really set up a move where typically you just have to kind of follow through. And that was kind of my theory, especially just kind of in practice. I was setting good lap times on the softer compounds, and obviously, you know, when you run higher wing and you have more downforce, you're more gentle on the tires. They grip to the track a lot better. They don't slide around as much because they have more force pressing them down. So that's another part that really helps make this this medium soft one-stop strategy, you know, possible, is running that higher wing. But again, we do give up some of our straight line speed, but it allows us to attack in some of these other areas. But like I was saying at the start of the race, early on we got caught in that DRS train, where it's just the 2-3 cars in front of me had DRS and there was no way to really get by them because we didn't have quite the overspeed. But now that the race is settling in and we've made a couple of moves to catch right up on the tail end of George Russell there, and you'll see this time, you can see his wing does not open. He is not going to have DRS down this straight, so it's going to give us a chance to attack him as we do. So we're going to go ahead and send it up the inside, take that away. A little bit of a lockup on the front right as we start to apply some of the steering in there, but well enough through that corner to make the pass pretty cleanly on him. And that's going to move us up into P4 in the race so far. So we're 14 laps in, not quite at the halfway point there, but we're making our way to that. We're going to be running pretty deep on these mediums. Again, when it came to like the strategy selection at the start of the race, you know, it was 20-some laps in. Realistically, it's just a matter of running these mediums until I feel like they're no longer viable. Because as these mediums wear out, they're still pretty manageable. When the softs hit the end of their window, they fall off of a cliff. They get very slidey, they heat up very quickly, and there's a much steeper cliff running on the soft tire than it is on the medium. And now you can see we're up to P3 as the first of the medium runners are starting to dive in and grab their set of hard tires to go to the end of the race on. We've really just got a Toro Rosso and a Haas in front of us there, Kevin Magnussen, and I believe it's either Butler or Albon. I can't tell from here just yet, but you can see George Russell is going to attack us now as he has DRS down that straight. So we're just going to kind of hold around the outside, see if we can't hold him off. It's a back-to-back DRS area, so he's going to get another chance to attack and get his way fully through there as he's a little quicker on the straight line. And we had to kind of back out, and a little extra brake took us offline. We had to get on the grass and then understeer as we came to that corner. So I had to kind of use the runoff to keep from wrecking the car there. But once you get some dirty air on that front wing that you've been running pretty comfortably in clean air, as soon as you hit that dirty air, it feels completely different. You're typically going to understeer off the first high-speed corner that you face if you're not careful. Luckily, plenty of runoff in that area, not a huge issue. But now we're back in the dirty air there, and you can see Giovinazzi is right behind us, but Verstappen has also made his way up after making his pit stop. I believe it's actually him behind us who's made his way through Giovinazzi there. You can see George Russell has a little bit of a lockup. We had a little bit of a run on him in that corner, but not enough to really capitalize on that mistake on the attack there. But we are going to have DRS on the next straight with him. But you can see Verstappen on those white wall hard tires catching right up, and there's a Mercedes Ferrari behind us. So the front running group that dove in off those soft tires, the fastest of those cars, is already starting to catch their way up. And here we go, taking the long way around. Kind of go for the switchback on George Russell. A little bit too late on the break into turn one. But we are going to have to kind of fight him wheel to wheel through this corner here. So we're going to pinch him a little bit against the apex. We're going to dive to the inside, and he's going to have to just back out. Otherwise, he's going to run out of track. We haven't managed to make that clean, but you can see all those Red Bulls fighting behind us with George Russell in that shakeup. And you look at the amount of gap that's created right as we make our way through turn 5 and that little blind crested left-hander. So that's going to give us a little bit of breathing room to relax and not be under attack as Verstappen was about to be right up on us. But we're at lap 16 at this phase here. And we've still got that Toro Rosso and that Haas running in front of us, trying to take those tires as far as they can. We're going to go ahead and jump ahead a couple more laps. Lap 18 now. We've inherited first place thanks to those two guys diving in. But Verstappen continued to hound us, so he's got DRS. He's going to dive down to the inside and get pretty well clear of us through the braking zone there. And it really wasn't going to be much we could do to hold him off at that stage. So now it's just a matter of settling in, trying to make some good lap times. We've got Valtteri Bottas in the Mercedes behind us, and I believe Leclerc in the Ferrari right there as well. But if we can, what we'll try and do is stay within the DRS range of Verstappen and utilize. We're not going to be able to really attack him out of those corners. He's just so quick and on a fresher tire. But if we can continue to stay in the DRS range, that's going to help out with our high downforce setup in those straight line areas, so we can at least, trade off some of that loss of straight line speed with the DRS while not having to compromise our ability to run in the corners here. But man, that Red Bull, and I've been saying it all season, is an absolute missile. It is so quick. And especially with Verstappen's AI, that thing is it's just tough to keep up with, honestly. But as our car continues to develop, that's what we're aiming for, is to become one of those fighting for the race win type cars. And you can see how much the AI plays into it as well with how he's performed. Obviously, he's, trading blows with Lewis Hamilton for top spot in the Drivers' Championship, but while Giovinazzi is really not there. So we hop ahead a couple of more laps, lap 24 now, and Bottas has finally reeled us in on the DRS straight there. We're going to fight him a little bit. He has to dive to the inside. We're going to hang it out around the outside, see if we can't hold him off. We're going to head off his run around the outside as we get a little better drive out of that hairpin, and we managed to put him right back behind us through that DRS zone. So for the time being, we've managed to hold him off just a little bit longer. But I don't expect that we'll be able to hold him off for too much longer, especially as our tires are really starting to fall off now. And one of the areas I really felt the tire fall off was through that corner we just went through there. Coming up, accelerating out of a corner up the hill there. It's very slick. You have to be, even with fresh tires, you have to be very careful getting on the throttle. And I spent a lot of time facing the wrong way in practice, getting on the throttle just a little too early and bringing the back end around. So you have to be kind of careful there, but that's where you really feel it. So we hop ahead. Lap 26 now. We're finally going to jump in, get those fresh tires. Get onto those softs to see what we can do. You can see there's kind of a train of midfield cars coming through the second to last corner there. We're still motoring slowly down the main straight in the pit lane there. So we're going to see how many cars we're going to lose positions to as we get those tires on. So there goes Ricardo. We've got the other Renault coming. The Haas of Magnussen, Norris, Butler, and Perez out there. But we're able to get out just ahead of Giovinazzi, so we're able to stay in front of that Red Bull. We lost down to P11 there, so not too bad. But on the flip side, they're all running on probably, what are they now, 15-lap-old hard tires, 10 to 15-lap-old hard tires. And we're on brand new, fresh, soft tires, and we're starting to burn down the fuel load. So our car is getting lighter and faster. So you see through the Sector 1 split, we lost 15.6 seconds. That's obviously due to the pit stop. But we'll see what we can do. And we're already really reeling in that group in front of us. So it's going to come down to being quick and decisive. We have a massive tire advantage, a massive grip advantage. So we're going to be able to make some use of those non-traditional passing areas in order to work our way back up the field. You see, we actually set a purple Sector 2. So fastest of the session as we dive up the right-hander there. You see just how much earlier I had to get on the brakes on the hard tires, whereas we were able to really go into that corner on the soft tires, stick it around the inside, and make a very clean, easy pass through a non-traditional passing zone. But that also just kind of leads into the fact that I've kind of practiced some of those. On the early stages of the race, I kind of got some practice and felt out where some of those attack zones were. And there's Butler. We have a little look to the inside, not quite enough. So we're just going to kind of settle in and see how much extra traction we get off the corner there. So we're going to look to the outside, see if we can't hang it out around the outside of this corner. Use our extra grip to maintain some speed. Nope, we're going to have to tuck right in behind him. A little bit of a nose to tail nudge there. No harm, no foul though. So we're going to settle in and look for our next passing opportunity. There's a very interesting feel to this race as he steps on. We have a little bit of a nudge on our front wing there as he got on the brakes a little earlier. We checked for damage. Nothing catastrophic there, so dodged a real bullet there. Luckily, it seemed to be not front of wing to back of tire, but more side to side maybe. And that kept my wing from snapping off. That could have been a big issue going for that dive there and losing a bit of body work. But as I was saying, it was an interesting race to run because as I got onto these soft tires and, you know, at first you start looking like, all right, I got to make 2 passes, get back into the points, and now I'm looking, all right, I got to try and clear this midfield group. It was really like running qualifying laps with a ton of traffic at the same time. It was really, really weird feeling, but it was really just trying to hustle the car as much as I could. We see got Norris boxed in on the inside there. Got on the curb, a little bit of wheel spin as the back end stepped out, but we're able to race Norris side by side down the hill. He turns in a little early and catches our side pod. Not sure what he was thinking there, but we're able to finally get by him as he backs out. He just kind of made his turn in before we did, and now we're right behind Magnussen. See if we can get a good run into the chicane, which we've used for a couple of overtakes there. Not quite a good enough run there, so we're going to have to settle in, make it through these S sections here, where we definitely have a huge grip advantage, but doesn't matter how much ground we can make up in that right-hander there. We've got to wait until we get to the last right-hander to set up the dive into that 90-degree right-hander at the bottom of the hill there. So we're going for a good run. We're going to look to the outside, get on the brakes, and swing it around the outside. And now we're going to drag race him down to the 180-degree left-hander. We managed to get nice and cleanly through. So utilizing that extra grip, and now we've got a Renault to chase down in front of us. We're up to P8, I believe it is now. The P7 or P8, I'll have to double check. But that's not where we're planning on stopping. We're close to, we were in the top 5 before all the pit stops started shaking out. And we are on the fastest tire possible right now. So it's just a matter of banging in fast laps after fast laps and not making any mistakes here. And you can see just how much ground we've caught up to Gasly in front of us. There's Ricciardo out there real quick, and then Gasly. You can see we're starting to open up a gap behind us to the Haas and the McLaren of Lando Norris as well. So here we are, fair bit of gap that we've closed up on there. We should be within range in the next DRS zone. So hopefully prepping for an attack, if not through this next right-hander down the hill. So we're going to get on the throttle here. He's got a little bit of a run up. We have a little look to the inside. We're not going to take it though. Just a little too far back to really dive it up. So we're going to take our medicine here, settle in, and see if we can't get a good run off the final corner into the DRS zone. We're right up on his tail, giving him absolutely no breathing room as we get on the throttle here. DRS is now open. We're going to go ahead and look to the outside. Get down into the braking zone nice and late. Give him space around the inside, but as we complete the hairpin, we are fully by him. Now, Daniel Ricciardo is the next target ahead of us. But we go a little bit deep. We make a mistake. We're a little bit out around the wide side there, but luckily we're able to hang it around with the extra bit of grip. Almost lost that position to a mistake as we went a little too deep in that corner and had to run around the outside to keep from scuffing the tires up. But we're able to hold off that position, but it is a significant loss of time that we definitely didn't need, as we're on lap 31 of 35, and the laps are definitely counting down. I mean, we've got Ricciardo in front of us, but you can see on the mini-map, you only get the occasional glimpses of the Mercedes up ahead of him. So it's going to be a huge gap that we're going to have to make up in order to get through there. But
some information on Verstappen. They have an issue with their car. They're going to
well,
be
it
slow.
looks like Verstappen's having some issues, but we'll see if that has anything to do with how much gap he's created to the front cars there. Maybe he's got enough space to do it. Maybe he might be losing the opportunity at another race win. We just have to find out. But let's see our gap as we cross the start-finish line. 1.6, and we actually set the fastest lap of the race there. So the light fuel load, the softer tires are really coming into play here. And that's what we planned for, was having this late game speed here. So every time, every corner, we're getting a little bit closer to Daniel Ricciardo. We've only got about 3 laps left in this race in order to make a move. Getting past Ricciardo is a move for the top 5, which is, kind of where we'd like to be. Obviously, we had a 10th place finish in the last race out, which snapped a few race podium streak and a pretty significant top 5 streak. So we're hoping to get back onto those ways as we had lost our 3rd position in the Drivers' Championship. But closer and closer as we head through these S's. Now we're definitely starting to feel the effects of Ricciardo's dirty air there, and you can see in the braking zone how much ground we make up into that first braking zone, now into the second one, and we're only about a car length off of his tail now. So we're going to be in a great position to attack him down the DRS zone in the start-finish straight here. So get the power down nice and early, get on the throttle, tuck into the slipstream, pick up as much of a toe as we can, and then look to the outside. We're able to pretty cleanly get through there, get to the outside edge of the track, and get the power down out of the corner. And Valtteri's kind of fallen back to us a little bit here. He's definitely feeling the effects of that tire wear, and he's going to be in danger now. So we have a chance now to get up to P4. That's a pretty significant gap as you watch us come down the track there. There's Hamilton, or Bottas, and then us. Hamilton wasn't even on screen at that point, so he's a pretty significant gap up ahead. I don't think he's really going to be in play if we're able to get by Valtteri, but the amount of time we're closing up each lap on Valtteri, I think we've got a good shot at it. I mean, lap 33, we're purple through the first sector, but we are going to be held up through sector 2 running behind Valtteri here. So we're just kind of taking to some different lines to try and get some clean air on the nose, but we've got a great run out of that corner here. We're going to go ahead and lay brake. He actually even locks up and makes a mistake of his own into that corner, so that's going to give us even extra ability to get through that corner. And so we managed to get clear of him. You can see Hamilton just finished the final corner. He's about to cross the start-finish straight. We're going to be starting the 2 to go. 2 to go as we cross the line here. We'll see we are 6.5 back. But we're going to hop ahead. End of the final lap. We finally started to have the soft tires go off on us. Valtteri must have had some issues because he lost ground to Ricciardo, and now Pierre Gasly's right on his tail, but Hamilton was able to keep his gap in front of us, and Verstappen was able to hold on for his wins. We just finish off the podium.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
So another fantastic victory for Red Bull today. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions, and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today, and the results speak for themselves.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win. So let's review the updated drivers' standings. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
I have to give it to Old Timer. There was a lot going on all down the field, but they were the only one who I really felt maximised their potential.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. No change in the top spot, but with today's points, their hold on the lead is getting weaker. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
There we go, another driver of the day. You better believe we got it. I mean, came from last place on the grid to finish P4 and pick up the fastest lap point. That's a heck of a run today. I feel very good, especially and against on a track that I'm not the best. Like, it's not my favorite track. I still have some issues and deficiencies certainly in certain areas of this track, but showed good pace against it. Obviously, we had a pretty ideal tire strategy, but we're still P4 in the championship, as Leclerc also finished on the podium there. We're about 9 points back of him. So we got to try and make that gap back up. But Verstappen, continuing to fight his way up towards the top spot in the Drivers' Championship. But another block of 4 races done, so you know what that time it is. It's time for a new contract. So we'll see what we can do here. Well, luckily, our value has jumped up considerably, definitely thanks to that run of podiums that we had before this group. So we'll see what kind of upgrades we can get. We'll propose our first contract here pretty soon and see how on the mark we can be. Kind of reduce our qualifying. We show better race pace than qualifying pace, and
They didn't
just
like those terms.
barely failed
Let's
it.
try
Luckily,
again.
we know how to make that easy. Just up our expectations in qualifying by 1 slot. Easy.
All right,
Make
in
a
terms
probably
of
the
agreed,
most
all
on
that's left is
point
to sign the
one of my contracts has
You'll be on
been
this
to
new deal from
my
the next
projected
race.
value at the time. I've either way undershot it or way overshot it based on what we want. But really, the big things are the race bonus. We want as much, want as many R&D points as we can, and then the pit stop bonus, because faster we're in the pits there, that's time on track here. But as we get to this point of the season, I'm starting to get a little nervous about next season's potential adaptations that might come through. So I think last year we got the info either at Hungary here or just after the summer break at Spa. So we are going to be keeping an eye out. And I think if we do have a regulation change, my idea is basically to flatline the development of the car completely and just go full adaptation. Not like last season where I was kind of doing one new and then one adapt. I'm not going to have the luxury of doing that unless we're, fingers crossed, so lucky to have an engine regulation change, which has been the area I've put the least amount of effort into, in which case that would put us hugely on the front foot. But so we're going to go ahead and continue to work on some of our aero. We're going with the DRS activation mechanism. Give us a little bit more straight line speed, a little bit more reduced drag when we pop that DRS open. And we're going to take a peek and see what we can do, what kind of adjustments are available in the engine development. So looks like 2 of them are fuel efficiency, and then we have the opportunity for better rotors for the energy recovery system in the braking. So we're going to continue to do that. The more we can recover under braking, the more we can run in higher deployment modes throughout the entirety of the race. So that's why I've been kind of focusing when I do make power unit adjustments. I'm kind of leaning towards the ERS because it's a huge difference. It's a big difference maker. I mean, running down a straight in low ERS mode versus running down that same straight in high or overtake mode, it's worth a few miles an hour. So it's definitely something we want to focus on here. But that is the end of the first half of the season. We're going to have the little summer break and return as we head to Belgium for Spa. So we're about to hit the power tracks of Spa and Monza. But join me next time, and I will see you guys later. Thank you.